Good day, students and parents at home. Welcome to 321 exams. In this series that I want to start today, I'll be teaching on what we call the introduction to oral English. This is an aspect of English that is somehow repudiated by most students because of several reasons. One, right from secondary school, experiences have shown that it is poorly taught. And so when students enter any exam to write anything that has to do with oral English, there is always this problem of being able to identify which is the correct answer. But as I start today, within the next 30 minutes, I'll try as much as possible to simplify this in this introduction series so that as we progress further, to be made easier for you. Let me begin by saying that oral English is basically concerned with a kind of English that is about sound production. When we say sound, we're not talking about the music that is heard in music studio. No. We are talking about human sound, the sound that human beings make when you talk. Now, if any human being talks, it is important that he be understood by somebody elsewhere. If you cannot understand me when I speak, I have not been able to communicate yet. This subject is out to ensure that whatever sound any human being makes is easily understood by the hearers. Whatever sound anybody says can easily be comprehended by whosoever hears it. That is the essence of this subject called oral English. So it will be very easy, it will be very simple. Just relax and let's move on. Now, this subject requires me to lay emphasis on what we call spoken form. That reminds me, we have what we call written English and then what? Spoken English. We are not here concerned with what we call written English. We are concerned with what? The spoken form. That is the kind of language that you speak. Even if you see the word before you, it may not be spoken the way you see the word, but it has a way of being spoken separately and differently from the way it is written. So our attention today in this series is to enable you to understand that we want to be concerned with the way you pronounce certain words, the way you articulate certain words. That's why you hear certain words like articulation, oral sounds, phonology. These are terms that are associated with sounds. You hear these sounds as we continue in this series. It's a very simple, easygoing aspect of English that is often loved by children. Unfortunately, in this part of the world, Nigeria, this subject is taught when children are mature of age, about maybe 10, 15, 20 years, writing exam. In other countries in Africa, for example, like South Africa, like Ghana, this aspect of English comes to them right from infancy. For example, you cannot hear a South African child or a Ghanaian child looking at a word, for example, a word like C-U-T, and call it cut. But in Nigeria, when you see the word C-U-T, we will say it is what? Cut. It is not cut, but what? Cut. Every South African child or any child from Ghana knows that C-U-T is cut, not cut. We want to look at how these sounds are. Now, we also have something like C-O-T, okay, which is cut. Now, the first one there is cut. The second one here is what? Cut. Why these differences? We'll look at these differences as we progress in these studies. Remember, I said here that our attention here is to be focused on what we call the spoken form, not the written form. The written aspect of English is not part of what we're looking at here. We're not after the spelling here. We're looking at how it is what? Ideally spoken. Now, like I said, there is a distinction between spoken and then written what? English. Okay? If you look at the English language, we have what we call alphabets or letters. Now, in English, there are about 26. Now, we are not concerned with those ones. Okay? We are not concerned with what we call the spoken aspect that may not be obvious when you want to look at them from the point of view of those alphabets. It's a different thing altogether. Okay? So when you hear of the spoken English, just divorce your mind from the written English. We are not concerned with the written English here. We are concerned with what? The spoken aspect of what? English that is of interest for us in this exam. Okay? So There's a difference between spoken English and what? Written English. Leave written aspect of it and let's focus on what we call the spoken word English. Now, there's something we call phoneme. In oral English, there's something we call what? Phoneme. Now, in what we call phonology, which is an advanced form of what we call oral English, phoneme is the smallest distinctive unit of any sound. Now, if you look at it from the point of view of alphabet, we have what we call letters. Now, a letter is more like a phoneme, but like I said before, we're not looking at the letters, we are looking at what we call phonemes, which is the smallest distinctive unit of what? Sound. Look at this example. We have P, O, T, and then S. Now, if you want to pronounce this word, it is what? Pots. Now, if you want to talk about phoneme, we can isolate each of the sounds here by saying P, O, T, S. Each of these four items here is called a phoneme because we can actually pronounce each of them. But there are some words, for example, look at this. There are some words that you cannot pronounce all the phonemes here. You have THROUGH. Now, this is pronounced through. Now, ask yourself, what is this H? What is this G? And maybe this O doing here because they are not pronounced. Okay? Those ones are here in the written form, but they are never what? Pronounced. So they are silent. Now, there's another word like this. If you like, add S. Okay? This is PSALMS. Now, ordinarily, you can say psalms. Okay? But is that the way it is pronounced? Certainly no. This word is pronounced psalms. What happened to the P here? It is silent. Okay? Now, we are talking about phoneme, and I said a phoneme is the smallest distinctive unit of a sound. In other words, you can actually isolate a phoneme in the totality of a sound. A phoneme is an aspect of sound. You can isolate it. When you have the whole of this word, for example, you have psalms, okay, you can bring out the whole sound in psalms, but each unit inside is what we refer to as phoneme here. If you want to bring out psalms, you can say, this is psalms. From what I've done here now, this, that, this, and this one, each of these four are called phonemes. Because you can actually isolate each of these four. But if you look at it the way it is written up there, that is the way it is here, the way it is written here, the way it's written here, there are about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 letters. But do you pronounce 6 of them? No. You only pronounce how many? 4. That's why we are looking at what we call the phonemes. These phonemes are what is essential for us to look at when we are looking at what we call oral English. It is this one that enables you to understand which sound is to be pronounced, which is not to be pronounced. There are several examples. Okay? Several examples like this. Look at this word. How do I do now? Okay, look at this. This is PSYCHOLOGY, pronounced as psychology. Now, there are several letters here that should not be here in pronouncing that word. Okay? These three, for example, okay, cannot be pronounced. But the remaining one may be pronounced, but in a different way. So when you have such complex words, you are trying to isolate which sound can come out of this. It is the knowledge that you have about phoneme that enables you to bring out this sound very well. Okay? So before I leave this aspect, let me emphasize again by saying that a phoneme is the smallest isolatable sound that is in the totality of the sound. It is those ones that enable you to know how a particular word can be pronounced. Okay? I hope that is okay. Now, let's move to the difference between phoneme and letters. As I've said before, I gave example before, and I can give more example like this. This is B-O-M-B. This word is not bomb, but what? Bomb. Now, what happened to the B? Letter B is what? Removed. It's no longer pronounced. It is what? Silent. So, in differentiating between phoneme and letters, we can say that certain phonemes that are in a sound will not be found in certain words. That is, some letters in a word may not be found in certain sound. Some of these sounds, some of the letters will disappear and only the phonemes will come up. So for this word like bomb, now what you have is, this becomes the sound. Okay, we'll look at the various sounds as we progress. But I'm trying to tell you that there's a difference between phoneme and what? Letters. Phoneme is to sound what letter is to alphabet. Let's just take it from that perspective. Okay, when you have 26 alphabet, inside those alphabets are letters. When you have a sound, in each of the sound is a phoneme. That is the difference between phoneme and what? Letters. But we shall not be focusing on letters here. As we move on, we'll be looking at what to call phonemes. Now, what's the relevance of study here? English language generally is used for communication. And if you must be understood by anybody, anywhere in the whole world, you should be able to communicate very well. Now, one of the ways of being able to communicate is when you're able to speak good English, sound. We know that a lot of people earn their living even from speaking. Some live basically because they can speak. They may not know how to write, but they can speak. And when you are someone that knows how to speak, sound correct English, you can hold the audience captive. That is the power of sound. So it is very important for one to understand how to attract attention. For example, if you are seeing somebody for the very first time, you don't ask the person whether the person can speak English or whether the person can write English. No. The first thing that attracts you when you see somebody coming to you, it may be the appearance, the dressing. But next to that is what we call talking, speaking, or what we call sound. When you begin to interact with the person, you understand whether this person can speak sound English or not. Okay? Asking the person whether the person can write, that is something that you find out much later as you interact with the person. But one thing that strikes you first after appearance is how the person can speak. So speaking is very important. Speaking is something that should be a vocation for some people. And of course it is, because so many people, like I said, earn their living from talking. There are so many agencies in Nigeria that you cannot work there unless you've taken advantage of what you call sound. Okay? You cannot be a broadcaster, for example, if you don't understand the essence of this subject here. Every broadcasting house ensures that they engage people that understand the importance of this subject. You cannot do without it, except you want to be in that area. But if you want to be in that area, you must understand how to put the sound together so that you don't talk as if you are like a carpenter trying to jam two wood together by force. No, English is not like that. It's very flexible if you understand how to use the sound. That is why it is very important to understand that this aspect of English is what everyone needs to. And because it is something that for you students, something that you have no choice but to learn in order to pass your exam, you just have to learn it. Because in your exam, not less than 20-25 questions are there for you. Okay, and these are not questions that are too complex. But because of the fact that it is not taught properly in secondary school, students shy away from the subject, which is not supposed to be so. It is very, very easy. It is very, very interesting. It's an aspect that you can sit down and learn, and then it becomes an asset. I remember when I was in the university, I entered the university, and a lady approached me and asked me the course I came for. When I told her, she said, oh, she doesn't like people that are studying English. And I asked her why. She said that they pretend as if they know it too much because the kind of way they speak. And I'm like, no, that shouldn't be the case. Okay, because You are supposed to have learned this from secondary school, but she was saying that because she had not taken advantage of this aspect of English when she was in secondary school. Okay, but you that is watching now, it's an advantage, because as we continue this series, by the time we get to the end, you'll have understood what it means to understand sounds, sound that you can speak, you can use when you are talking. Remember, when you are someone that understands this aspect of English, anytime you talk, people must listen. If you are in a gathering and you say something, people must look back and say, oh, who is that person that just said this, because of the way you uttered it. At this point, we end it for now. Join me again in the next series as I continue shortly. Thank you very much.